On my blog, every Monday, I do a challenge, or I call it a meme, Monday meme. And last week, I chose to do the yearbook challenge, where I asked everybody to take a portrait picture of themselves, like they're posing for a yearbook photo, or, those school class photos, if you didn't have yearbooks in your school.
I didn't go to school. I was working in the field, so I don't know what you're talking about. But carry on.
I noticed a lot of Europeans were like, we never had yearbooks. I'm like, okay, well,
Well, now we have a second life. We can do it, right?
Exactly. So then I asked you if you wanted to pose for one, and I'm glad you did. And it turned out that it got onto Flickr Explore. So, I think last time I looked at your picture, it was above 20K views. Hi, I'm Strawberry Singh, and you're listening to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Jo Yardley.
That's a first take. Nobody managed that so far. Well, happy 2015. Let's go.
Happy New Year, everybody, and best of luck for 2015.
Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Jo Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupree. I'm here with Jo Yardley, obviously. Hi, Jo.
Hello.
And this is the first show of 2015, and Happy New Year, Jo. And we were just talking off camera, if you will, off mic, that you went to a Montessori school.
Yeah.
So that's great. So basically, you've been told to, doesn't really matter what you do. Everybody loves you.
Yeah, and it was the 70s, so I didn't learn anything at all whatsoever.
Well, thank God that people are going back to spanking their children, because that'll solve all the problem.
Bad bloody time, stupid, annoying kids.
Spare the rod, spoil the child. And it has nothing to do with Rod Humble, right?
No, we're not sparing Rod.
Rod has spared himself. Anyway, that's long in the past. So 2015 started off with a whole lot of real-world turmoil. Quite serious stuff. We encourage our listeners, I want to say this at the top of the show, not to completely check out of engaging with the realities in the physical realm. As much fun as Second Life is, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, right?
If people need an excuse to escape reality, I think the world we live in today is a pretty good excuse. So
they could watch Dr. Phil all day long.
Yeah, who?
Dr. Phil is an American television psychologist. You might have heard of him.
There's no such thing as a television psychologist.
Okay, the station ID today is, of course, by famous blogger Strawberry Singh, whose yearbook challenge is a really fun idea, and folks should consider submitting. There's a Flickr group, and it's really very quickly become a showcase of avatar diversity. There's over 500 submissions. Everyone can participate. We link to Strawberry's post on how to do it. Today on the show, Ben Lang, executive editor of the best non-Second Life-centric technology blog, namely the Road to VR blog. He will be reporting his impressions from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas that wrapped January 9th. 4 days of consumer entertainment, escapism, madness, talking about escapism, poor, unapologetic, throwing your life away for consumer values. Just awesome.
Oh, is this going to be one of those broadcasts? Do I have to slap you again?
Virtually, yes. We will, of course, contextualize what Ben has to say with our little beloved virtual world. So for the folks who think gadgets like Oculus Rift or omnidirectional treadmills are insignificant window dressing for Second Life residents, please do stick around. Now, first, a couple of housekeeping notes. You can get in touch with us. You know how. Avatar Drax Files, radio@draxfiles.com. Leave us a voicemail on Skype, Drax Files. We are on the radio, so voices are always good. It's better than the written word. You can become a sponsor with us. You can have your own banner displayed on the website and mentioned every single show by our credit announcer, Kaleo. He would love to read new copy. You can be a real-world physical service or brand or SL-based, whichever. We do not discriminate against real life. Speaking of sponsors, Jo, Leap Motion announced the winners of their 3D Jam. Check it out. We're linking it to our blog. We're also giving away a Leap Motion again. Here's a disclaimer, only to U.S. residents. We're really sorry about that. Leap is not shipping internationally. We really appreciate their support for the show, but we can't really force them to deal with customs and shipping costs and all that. We're actively working on some European sponsors, so you guys get some physical stuff in your hands as well. You can also support us individually by shopping at the stores that advertise with us. You can visit our sponsors. Of course, you can take out a voluntary subscription of only $100 Linden per month. That's $25 Linden per show. Send us a message, and we will send you the subscription device device made by Chris Lehman from Botanical.
Yeah, and it's a really cool old-fashioned microphone.
All right. Marketers are bound to repeat marketing mistakes made in Second Life. Now, that's my assessment of that headline. Adweek magazine, Joe, had an article about the marketing folks getting on board of the hype machine. Let me quote from this article. A straw poll of marketers who are experimenting with virtual reality technology reveals that a 3-minute VR video can cost more than $1 million to produce.
Well, if you're a smart producer, that's what I would charge. There is going to be hundreds of thousands of millions of people who run companies that have a big budget who suddenly wake up one day and say, we have no presence in virtual reality. Let's call someone who has a nice business card to make us something VR-y. How much is it? $1 million? There you go. It's going to happen.
And then it won't work out, and then
Coca-Cola is going to have a virtual reality shop or office or experience or whatever, because everyone's going to have one.
Right. Coca-Cola had a spinning virtual Coca-Cola bottle. They thought it was a great idea back in 2007. Adidas had a virtual mall in Second Life. They thought it was a great idea. Cost them hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. A store that you could build in half a day for, I don't know, for $100, but they paid $100,000 for it.
That's the way it goes, and it's going to happen again. And maybe this time it's going to be worth it. They are going to keep investing in new technologies, and 8 out of 10 times it's a waste of money, and 2 out of 10 times they are right there at the right time at the right moment. So they can't afford not to be part of it.
Listeners, tell us your craziest, dumbest Second Life marketing ideas. Stories from actual ideas that were implemented in the 2006-2007 hype era, and you can win a Leap Motion.
Oh, yeah. I think my Dutch bank had an office in Second Life.
That's right, ING.
ABN.
Oh, really? I know about ING. They had Virtual Holland.
Virtual Holland is okay, but a bank? I don't even like going to a bank in real life.
Yeah, it's just like a virtual Adidas mall,
Yeah, but it would have been nice if they had actually manned it 24 hours a day with someone who can help you out with stuff. But, even then, I'd probably not want to do it in a virtual world. Not yet, anyway. Not Second Life.
Yeah.
With all due respect.
With all due respect.
Yeah.
Now, Second Life regions are diminishing again. That's a news item I put down here. The decline is slower than last year. It's from Daniel Voyager's blog, but he takes the statistics from Teich Shepard. Apparently, there was a 3.5% region loss in 2014 versus 8.2% loss of private regions in 2013. So there is a slowing down of the decline, but nonetheless a decline. What do you think about that, Joe? Is that worrying you?
I'm not that worried. It's pretty much as predicted. There is no reason for it to start growing or to you reach a plateau, because Second Life is still too expensive for most people, so that's not going to change.
The tier is too damn high, and most people use it for their own entertainment, let's say, and don't have the revenue flow to justify that tier. Yeah.
Yes, or they don't have the time or knowledge to invest and spend on their sims to make it profitable.
Are you saying they're just too dumb to be successful entrepreneurs?
No, I'm saying that it can be quite difficult and hard work to make a sim work.
Just kind of like in real life.
There are people who run shops, and to them it is a full-time job. It's 7 days a week, so it's not something that comes easy. We know that there's a new Second Life coming. It's around the corner. Tier it is too high for many people and for many projects. I think that buying land should become free. They can keep the tier for now as it is, but if I didn't have to pay $1,000 to buy a region, or 300 to buy a homestead, I would have bought another one by now. I would have bought another region, even perhaps started on my next project. But I'm afraid to do that because it's such a big investment.
We'll be seeing what happens. Meanwhile, you sent me an article from your favorite publication, the Daily Mail.
It is not my favorite publication.
No, I mean, especially their political reporting is really kind of balanced. It's great.
No, everyone in the world knows that it's one of the most awful online newspapers there is, and they make a lot of mistakes. And I'm not just saying that because they did a full-page spread on me a while ago, but it is one of the most read online newspapers in the world. Say what you like. And again, got 3 articles from them about virtual reality.
I want to talk about smell going forward in virtual reality. Let me quote from a book called Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. It's the new Snow Crash, as you know, in terms of literary template for what VR should be. And the hero in this book, Parzival, has a smell tower that he rarely uses because people do all sorts of pranks. And you're sending me this Daily Mail article.
It is a device and it releases aroma. And I think that they like colors, they have different types of aroma that they sort of combine to create all sorts of smells.
Scientists sent the smell of champagne and macaroons from Paris to the US and back, I suppose, via an iPhone. There's kind of a device that then emits that, a tiny tower. You attach it to the iPhone and it emits that scent. And it's funny because I'm rereading Ready Player One now, and the quote in there is, "The olfactory smell tower in the corner was capable of generating over 2,000 discernible odors. A rose garden, salty ocean wind, burning cordite. The tower could convincingly recreate them all. A lot of jokers, however, like to code really horrific smells into their simulations, just to mess with people who own smell towers, so I usually left the generator disabled."
I would really love to have something like that for my 1920s Berlin. Can you imagine the immersion of visiting a place that has smells?
Yeah, the Hotel Adlon, nice tea smell.
Yeah, welcome to your new apartment. Yes, it's damp and it smells moldy.
My attic, oh my God.
And when it rains.
Let's go quickly through these other news items from the Daily Mail. Apple filed a patent. You can basically wave at your television so you don't have to get off the couch. Incredibly cutting-edge technology. What's that about?
It is a bit like the Leap Motion, but it scans the area so you can sit in front of your television or your computer screen and wave your arms about.
And Project Nourish, that's another one from the Daily Mail where you can be tricked into thinking that you're eating tons of really kind of high-calorie foods, but in fact you're eating healthy stuff, I suppose. So the brain gets tricked into thinking that you're eating cake, but you're actually eating very, very good food. So virtual food, so you can eat whatever you want without getting fat while sitting on your butt, waving at your TV. The future is amazing.
Half the sense of eating is what you see, is what you smell, is what you touch. It's not just taste. So, that's what they're doing with this program. They're giving you something to eat that feels in a certain way, but it is, it's just healthy goo or it looks a bit like Jello. But because of virtual reality, you see on your plate a steak. Again, with smells, you smell a steak. So you are fooling your brain into thinking that you are eating a steak. This is
a project out of Los Angeles where I will be in a couple of weeks, and maybe I'll hunt that guy down and eat some steak, virtual steak, which is in reality goo. Oh my God, I don't know.
This is going to make long-term travel, space travel, a lot more fun because after a couple of months, you do get sick of Jello.
Remember how in Second Life there was a project where when you see your avatar eating, let's say, sweets, then the sweet craving in real life supposedly goes down because of mirror neurons that also trick the brain into thinking that you have already sort of satisfied that craving. There was a project in Second Life once.
It sort of works the opposite with me. Whenever my avatar is in Berlin having a nice meal at the Athlon, I'm getting really, really hungry.
We have one more Second Life item in our Pay is blogging about Linden Lab's official announcement that they have partnered with Skrill Digital Wallet. It's a payment provider in the UK. And so I'm quoting from the press release, leading digital payments company Skrill announces a collaboration with Linden Lab to integrate the Skrill Digital Wallet as a payment option for users of Second Life.
Would this make the transfer of money faster? Because, I sometimes have to wait a week before my Lindens are transferred.
I want to get Brooke Linden on the show, who does the marketplace, and then maybe someone from the finance team, because I think that has to do with possibly federal regulations that prevent money laundering and such things, that you just can't cash out that quickly. But I don't know. We have to verify that with the financial team at Linden Lab.
But, PayPal can do it. If someone else sends money to PayPal who is in America but who is not Linden Lab.
Have we forgotten anything? There's a couple things we forgot, but I'll link to them on the blog. Our previous guest, Cosmo Shar from VRLA is a founder of a new company co-founder. The company is called Visionary VR, that kind of helps content creators to force the audience's viewpoint kind of where the action is versus free wandering around in virtual reality. So it's interesting. It's kind of turning back the clock, if you will. Basically, with the Oculus Rift on, it's kind of a drag-drop game design feature that then lets the content creator decide, hey, the player can't go to the left too far. He's going to be reminded that he has to go the other way. So for a focused sort of linear game design, it limits the freedom in a virtual environment in a productive way, I suppose. For me, as an explorer of virtual worlds, it sounds a little bit actually limiting what is so cool about virtual reality, which is the freedom to just do whatever you want.
I think it depends on the experience. For instance, educational and things like that, or if you want to tell a story, virtual reality movies. I can see people wanting to work with something that's slightly less free.
Exactly. I mean, I can already see Loki Elliott commenting on this and saying, yeah, Drax, what are you saying? That would be so cool because, you got to restrict the camera. I mean, that is a flaw in Second Life. You can cheat by, because you can't restrict the camera, I can cam out and then look, where is this labyrinth leading me and stuff like that. And you need to focus and control the user's experience to some extent.
Well, people who visit 1920s Berlin can't fly, and if it was up to me, they wouldn't be able to use their camera either. Except me, of course, because I love using my camera.
I think Linden Lab is well aware of that, and it's probably going to implement some of this stuff in SL 2.0.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Lastly, you guys can read that. It's an article that you sent me, Joe, from The Guardian. An interesting sort of review of a upcoming game called No Man's Sky. It's kind of a space exploration game, kind of like Second Life.
Does that still exist, Second Life?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, before we introduce our guest Ben Lang, executive editor from Road to VR, a new feature of this show is that we will play more music, a musical interlude, if you will, exclusively music, of course, from the virtual universe, and you can send us stuff if you are a talented musician. Only if you're talented. And if we deem it good enough, we will play it. Our first musical guest of 2015 is Terilyn Melody. I really love her stuff. She's been playing in Second Life since 2009. Her website, we'll link to it, terilynmelody.com. It's rockabilly, it's American folk, it's pop, it's country, whatever it is. She has a great voice. We're going to play the tune Mr. Right. It's from an upcoming CD, untitled as of yet. It's a great tune. Here's Terilyn showing you all that not every Second Life musician is a hack.
I change as fast as the weather. Lately I'm stuck, I'd never know it, know how. And I just can't find my way out, so you say it starts with one step. Oh wow, what a concept. I don't know why I never thought of that before. I'll take one step, 2, 3, 4, right out the door. You said, life's a journey, girl. You should choose to move along. Step one starts with this song. You're right, I'm wrong. Oh yeah, I'm wrong for putting up with your shit, wrong for trying to make the shoe fit, wrong for being wrong, and wrong for saying so. I bet I'm even wrong when I'm sleeping. I'll be wrong for all the stuff I'm keeping wrong. When I am right, then I'm wrong some more. I'll do what right thing may be more when I'm out the door. Oh yeah, Mr. Right, eyes ain't deceiving. OMG, you're right, I'm leaving. Go right ahead, say you told me so. Well, I'll admit I wasn't right about you. You were right to tell me what I should do. You were even right that I should write this song. You were right, that I should move along. You're right and I'm gone. Oh, so long. Oh, Mr. Right, I'm moving on. Oh, yeah, you were right. And now I'm gone.
All right, so that was Terry Lynn Melody with a song called Mr. Right from her upcoming CD. It's time to introduce our featured guest, Ben Lang, executive editor of the Road to VR blog, an excellent resource for VR-related news and analysis. It's well researched and it's also really well written. Ben, to me, is the Inarape of the real world, if you will. Hi and welcome, Ben.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're doing excellent now that you're here. Now, you've been to Las Vegas, to the Consumer Electronics Show.
So CES is just gigantic. It's kind of hard to, like, if you've ever been to a fairly large conference, you probably have an idea of what that's like. But CES is something totally different. It's humongous. It fills the entire Las Vegas Convention Center, and then on top of that, spills over to 2 more campuses, basically, of hotels and suites and more convention centers, which are, can be significantly far away from each other to the point that you need to take a bus or the monorail or sprint 30 minutes to get there. And then on top of that, you have people who are there not officially at the show, but are posted up in hotels around the area, talking to people and showing stuff.
How many people did you have over there from the blog? Was it just you?
It was me, our editor, Paul, and then we had 2 other contributors there that were helping us out. And then we had some remote support from some of our guys.
Now, you focused only on VR, which kind of cuts it down a little bit, I suppose. How big was VR within the whole context? I mean, were there still sort of televisions and, lame old stuff?
Oh, yeah. It is so big that pretty much every type of electronic there is represented. I mean, anything you can think of, you probably see something there or some new version of it. It's just mind-bogglingly massive. And VR isn't so big yet that they have given it its own kind of clump, its own kind of category or space within. There's still broader categories like gaming, where a lot of the VR stuff ended up. But I think we'll be getting there soon. But to give an idea, I think, of how big VR is in terms of conceptually, not necessarily floor space there. If you read a lot of the headlines coming out of CES, a lot of them include virtual reality or Oculus Rift or something in these big mainstream websites and even in some mainstream print media. Tons of headlines like CES, 2015, the future is all about wearables, virtual reality, blah, blah, blah. Virtual reality is either the headliner or, in that list of a few things they mention.
What were some of the stories? I mean, was it only Oculus Rift there? What were the biggest VR news that you got out of there? New gadgets or concepts?
The biggest news for us as people who are specifically following virtual reality and have been for several years now, the biggest news, I guess you could say, was that the place was jam-packed of virtual reality stuff. Our calendar was completely filled up to the point that we were trying to double book meetings so we could split up and go tackle them. There's so much happening in this space now. It's become very exciting. In terms of specific individual products, Oculus actually didn't have too much to show for somebody who's been really closely following it. This was the first time that kind of anybody at the conference could get their head in their latest prototype, which was certainly for those people who haven't tried it before, a big deal. And that's the reason why so much, I think, of this positive coverage came out, because a lot of these news outlets that have been following Oculus or VRs closely finally said, yeah, I'm going to go check that thing out, and then realized what it's all about. I actually said that I think CES 2015 will be remembered by the virtual reality community as the one when everybody figured out what we were going on about.
Did you actually interview some people on the ground, like visitors who were not from the VR geek community, what their impression was?
Yeah, absolutely. So every time that we go to one of these shows, we do try to do a kind of impressions piece to just get whoever coming out of Oculus's booth to say what they thought about it. I'm still putting that together, but you get a lot of really interesting opinions. Most are positive. Occasionally, you do find a negative one, which is always good to hear those perspectives. But you get a lot of people just being like, "Oh my God, that's blowing me away! I want to buy it now. Where can I get it? Why can't I have it?" That kind of thing.
Did you see anything cool regarding the treadmills?
So Virtuix, you guys may be familiar with. They went to Kickstarter. Yep, in 2013. They have a VR treadmill. It's kind of this, like you said, a disc. It's a little bowl-shaped thing. There's a ring around your waist that kind of holds you in place, and then you have a low friction.
Slipping and sliding.
Yeah. So that lets you run in all directions. So they've been working on that since 2013, and they're finally getting ready to ship. And this was the first time at CES 2015 that we saw their production version, which was really exciting because they've just been showing kind of an old prototype for a long time while they were working everything out. The design is new. It now has the ability to adjust the ring up and down, so it can fit people of many different heights, which is great. And it's also now collapsible, as they always, aimed for it to be. We never saw it before because it was the prototype. So
it's portable now that you can take it on a camping trip when you get out of your mom's basement.
Yeah, take it on a camping trip. Well, I think it's funny though, because it's probably easier for them now to move it around these shows. I think previously they said they had to ship them in these huge crates. Now that they can break them down, it might be a little bit easier. But yeah, it's really just so you can stow it under the bed, so your wife doesn't shout at you when the company's coming over. You don't have to explain what on earth this contraption is. But anyway, I got to jump into that and run around, and it was really fun. And for stuff like Second Life, where people really want to be walking around the worlds that they make, I feel like it could be a pretty exciting thing, because it's one thing to require the kind of precision of a Call of Duty or Half-Life 2 movement. It could really stand to be quite cool to be able to just basically, stroll through the streets of 1920s Berlin if you wanted to, and feel like you're actually walking through it.
Did you try out the Cyberriff? We had these folks on, they're from Austria, and the Cyberriff omnidirectional treadmill always looked to me like a little bit more thought out almost. They had that adjusting ring, I think, before the Virtuix had.
Sure. So Cyberriff is kind of they're the competitor to Virtuix right now, the most direct one at this point. And so they're, instead of kind of the bowl shape, they have a flat disc. And you are right, they have their ring actually moves up and down with you. So you can jump and you can crouch and you can sit, and it's kind of with you. Whereas Virtuix, it is fixed while you're using it. You can adjust the height to what you want, but it doesn't move with you as you're using it.
I haven't tried either of them. I'm not that convinced that I want to be sliding on a disc to sort of mimic walking. So I'm very excited about the Infinidec, which is in a very early stage, and it's going to take probably quite a long time for that to become more compact and affordable. But the technology behind it, the way it works, I think that is the solution for what we are looking for.
Let's describe the Infinitec real quick, because so we got basically 3 competitors here, as far as I can see: Virtuix, Cyberith, and no, you're talking about the Infinitec, which is
The 2 others are sliding, are discs where you stand on and you slide about the place a bit. The Infinitec is an actual treadmill, an actual omnidirectional treadmill. You can walk in any way.
Ben, these guys were at the Silicon Valley Virtual Reality Conference. Were they at CES in Vegas, the Infinitec guys?
They weren't there to my knowledge, and I think that's partly due to the fact that their product is much more in the proof of concept phase than the other guys. So while, Joe, I agree with you that being able to actually walk is definitely a plus, because the more real it can be, the better it's going to be. I personally will need some more convincing to see that concept of this big rig will be practical in the long term. It's something that maybe could work in a VR arcade. The prototype that we saw at the SVVR conference weighed 1,000 pounds. It needs to be big. I'm sure it's expensive at the moment, but the biggest issue with those is momentum of the moving parts themselves.
It's definitely not going to work, commercially speaking, in households until they can make a version that is, a bit like a rug.
I think for strolling applications, if you will, where you just want to walk, I think that this could work. But as soon as you go anywhere up from a walk to a jog or run, when you want to quickly change directions, if the mass that's under you, which weighs quite a bit, can't instantly change its direction as fast as you are, and let alone detect the exact direction that you're not moving, it becomes a very almost frightening experience, actually, to have this big moving thing under you that may not actually be going in the direction you're trying to go. When I tried it out myself, I was actually kind of surprised that nobody ended up falling and hurting themselves on it, because at the moment they don't have any sort of safety apparatus. You're just up there. Presumably they would have some sort of harness system, some sort of thing hanging from the ceiling or something like that.
I mean, that's a challenge at the gym. We all seen that typical spoof when a guy is waving to a gal next to him on a treadmill and then falls over and hits his head on the thing.
It's like that, but imagine when you turn directions and you try to step one foot over the other to the left, for instance, and the world feels like it's moving below you in a the goal is to make the ground below you feel static. And so it has to be hyper precise in predicting where you're about to step, and also be able to actually deal with that momentum instantaneously in the case of running and quickly turning or jumping from side to side. So I would love to see it work perfectly, but at the moment it's kind of scary to have this huge machine under you, and you want to step one direction and suddenly you feel off balance because the world, as it were, below you is moving in some direction you're not expecting. So the experience that I tried at CES with Virtuix was they had me sprinting through this speed shooting course where I had the Oculus Rift on, I had a gun controller in my hands, and finish it in a certain amount of time. And I had a lot of fun with it. If you're designing around the limitations of the unit, you can come up with some really fun stuff. I mean, it's a lot like the Wii, for instance. The Wii launched, it's certainly not one-to-one tracking by any means, but developers created games that were fun, that made it feel like people were really doing the stuff and enjoying it for certain people. So especially for that walking stuff, I'd love to just walk around Second Life in Virtuix Omni, especially for that fact that you can put somebody in there and say, just walk. You don't need to know how to use a controller. You don't need to know how to use WASD. You can say, just look where you want to go and walk that way. That's a neat way of making virtual spaces more accessible to anybody.
Well, and the great thing about the type of exciting world we live in today is that that things are going so fast that it's only a matter of time before we can actually dance in virtual reality and actually run and actually walk. So, it's still, everything is still at a very early stage. So that's, and it's going so fast, it's ridiculous.
The Second Life residents that are listening right now might also then think, now all the stuff that's happening, and Ben also already mentioned that a lot of the hardware devices have their showcases. The software component are usually showcases that sort of harness the capability and try to kind of avoid the limitations of that particular device. Ben, let me ask you, what do you think now coming home from CES? And also, you're kind of a fresh Second Life resident. You have been drinking schnapps with Joe reportedly a couple times. Does all this stuff that was happening at CES, all these devices, what does it mean for the virtual world space? Now, that kind of product category, if you will, Second Life 2.0, high fidelity. So long story short, Ben, what do you think will happen to broader virtual world spaces that are supposedly unifying when right now we're at a stage where every company has sort of nice demos that work with their specific device but not necessarily work with a software solution that is provided by someone else?
I think on the virtual world side of things, the closer that the hardware gets to being plug and play and easy to use, the sooner people are going to say, okay, these games are fun, but now where do I actually exist in these spaces? Because, you know, the game thing is done as soon as you hit the quit button. There are people out there, and Second Life proves this very well, that want a persistent space where they can actually kind of make a Second Life, if you will, in a virtual area. So I think that there's definitely an opportunity to draw a lot of this virtual reality excitement over into the virtual world space, and somebody is definitely going to make that killer thing, whether it be, you know, Second Life 2.0 or
Facebook
world or high fidelity. People are going to want that space to just go and be and do, as opposed to a directed game mechanic based experience.
Well, Ben, I also realized that my super broad question, now that I realize, is also a little bit about standards. Is anybody talking about standards so that stuff just gels with each other, or are we at the beta versus VHS stage in a way? Are people battling that?
Yep. So on that point, so there was a fairly exciting development at CES. Razer, the people that make computer peripherals, teamed up with a company called Sensix, who's been making professional head-mounted displays for quite some time, and they announced this thing called OSVR, or the Open Source Virtual Reality Initiative. So what this is an SDK which is designed to be compatible with a bunch of different hardware, multiple headsets, multiple input. So basically, the goal is to say developers write once for this SDK, and that will enable your program to automatically support, 4 different headsets, 5 different headsets, 6 different modes of input, whether it be the Razer Hydra or something like that. So if they can reach that critical mass where it just makes sense for developers to, instead of write for Oculus, write for Morpheus, etc., if they can write once and deploy to 10 headsets and 15 different modes of input, it just becomes an economical factor at that point. Like, of course we're going to do that. So if it works out well, that would be, I think, a good thing on a number of different levels. And so the whole OSVR thing, it's all totally open source as well. They're making the source available so that anybody can work on it. They're also releasing this $199 headset called the Hacker Development Kit. That's totally open source. They're putting all the plans and schematics out there, and said that you could actually literally take everything that they've done, take all their plans, have the thing manufactured, call it Drax and Joe's wonderful VR headset, and just sell it. I mean, that would be totally within the bounds of the openness of this project. So more so than that, they're looking at a device that is hackable and moddable easily, but that is, they're going that level of openness, which is neat. So hopefully we will see a community spring up around this initiative and let it actually be community-led. And supporting all these different devices.
When I was reading Ready Player One, what I really liked about that book is that they create this place where these people get together, the 1980s themed basement, where they just hang out. And to me, that was the strongest suggestion of what VR could, should, and will be like for most people that I've seen so far. I mean, yeah, exactly. It sounds so basic and shallow and simple, but I'm a gamer. I'm in Second Life. But the idea of just going into, with me, of course, in a 1920s themed room, and being there with my mum, who at the moment is in Venice, or with my sister, who is somewhere across the world as well, and just chatting, but actually feeling like you are in there. Because I've never been that interested in chat rooms, even, if it's filled with my family and friends. I'm not a huge user of Skype. I don't like Skype. I don't use it very much, only for things like these. But the idea of being in a room with my aunt from Australia, I really like that. And I think that the simple, basic things where people can hang out and just immerse themselves into, be it a historical situation or a scary situation or whatever, I think those are going to be the most popular.
Yeah, I'm looking forward particularly to being able to get together a group of friends in wherever, just somewhere where we can hang out and play poker. Because we had some friends who had a little poker group, and we get together from time to time. But we're all over the place now.
We've got poker in Second Life.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure you do, but no. So I want to be able to reach out with motion controls to pick up the cards. I want to be able to throw chips at someone's face if I don't like them. I want to be able to do all the things that I can do.
Them. Then get you into a fight, and you're gonna wear a suit so you can actually feel when you're being punched back.
Yeah, that's the dream. I want to get punched.
And then you all end up in hospital.
And I cannot play the interview I did with Bagman Linden from Linden Lab about SL 2.0. And Ben is talking about cool stuff, and I cannot play that interview because it reveals too much about SL 2.0. What you guys describing here is awesome, and I'm all for it. But I also want, and I'm a broken record on it, the continuous persistent world where everything is interconnected. That is so appealing to me versus just bringing up, let's say, a poker room, right? I want that poker room in a larger context. I don't know why. I want to go outside of that poker room and then walk down the street to somewhere else, or take a plane and go somewhere else. I mean, that's also concepts in Ready Player One that is compelling, that he has to actually travel to these other worlds. I know, Joe, the chat room, he can bring that up anytime from anywhere.
That's the option that you have as a user. If you want, if all you want is a little room, that's 1980s themed, where you can play Pac-Man with your friends, then that's what you want. That's what you build. We build it ourselves. If Ben wants a poker room, he can build a poker room. It can be Western themed. It can be 1980s themed. It can be just an order. It can be his own kitchen in real life. But if he wants, he can go outside, and then suddenly he's in war-torn Normandy beaches, or whatever game he likes playing most. And that's where we're going, because I love playing games, but more and more gamers are interested in games with freedom, where you have an entire world to explore, where you can do whatever you like. And what is more freedom than the ability to build the entire game the way you want it?
Yeah, to that point, and Drax's as well, about being in that, having a space within a larger context, I do think that it is important because it's what we know as human beings. We're never in our kitchen and we go to a door and that door doesn't actually go anywhere. That door is a symbol in our mind that means this is a pathway to another place. And so actually, Joe, you brought up the idea of an arcade. There's actually this really awesome Oculus Rift demo called New Retro Arcade, where you are in just like a totally cliche 1980s themed arcade room with a bunch of arcade cabinets. And you can play them all. There's bowling, there's darts. It's really cool. It's really detailed.
Were you even born in the 1980s?
Was I even born in the 1980s?
Yeah,
no,
yes.
I wasn't.
I knew it. See, I remember those arcades.
Yeah, but so this is a really cool demo, and I put people in it and they say, this is awesome. And then they walk up to the door and they say, does that go anywhere? Or can I go through there? And it's like, well, no, you can't. You're constrained here. And I get that question a lot, because even though this space is really neat, it is this tiny little puzzle piece, or this little snippet of what a broader virtual space could be. I mean, and how much cooler would it be to say, yeah, open that door and there is a city out there.
The metaphor that we operate with in the physical world, there is space where we can go. There is not just a wall where it says, hey, you can't go any further. You can always go further.
This is where we are going. You can see it with television. Television is on its last legs, and everyone, YouTube is making stars out of regular people. The computer games are no longer A, B, C step sort of actions, but people want Grand Theft Auto 5, where you have a world to play with, do with your own what you want, and even that is not enough. They start modifying the cars and the outfits and things like that. So we want VR and we want freedom. That's where we're going.
We want freedom. I apologize for the occasional audio problems. Ben, before I forget and before we get to the end of the show, a couple more questions about the on the ground experience at CES. What about the augmented reality space? What was your sense? Where is augmented reality in relation to virtual reality on the ground at CES? Is it dead? Is it merging?
There aren't really a lot of serious consumer level options for a headset that could be both transparent and virtual, if you wanted to, augmented and VR, if you will. Cast AR is working on a system largely kind of augmented. It's kind of different from what you're used to, because they're actually projecting an image onto spaces in the real world, which is really an interesting approach. And they say that they'll have these VR clips that you can hook on and have a VR experience. We haven't seen them yet. That's the goal for them. But on the just straight up, like what we all think of kind of as augmented reality, so much of what you can talk about it all day and how amazing it would be, but when it comes down to it, 99% of it is based on computer vision, which is the ability to make computers understand an image or a scene as well as a human could, so that when you want to, say, put an overlay, a floating screen over top of your coffee to read out what temperature it is, the computer needs to be able to know, what does a coffee mug look like? How do we detect that in different types of lighting? But so it's a big problem that is not solved yet. And if it ever were solved to a point where computers could identify objects as accurately and consistently as people can, and with such a wide range, it would make for many highly interesting products. It would be huge for a bunch of different companies out there working on this stuff.
I heard Magic Leap has solved that.
Well, so at this point, I'm not convinced that we're there yet.
Let's remind folks what Magic Leap is.
The most we understand is that it is some sort of lightweight augmented reality glasses, and presumably their technology very convincingly puts virtual imagery into the real world in a way that looks very natural and very real. But I don't know that they have yet solved the computer vision problem either, which is still a challenge, because you can put something convincingly in the real world when the scene is completely static and your head isn't moving. But as soon as you want to start moving your head, that thing has to stick in that space in the real world, so that such that your brain says, okay, that thing is actually there.
I think they probably have a demo, model somewhere that lets people try it and blows them away, because you need a lot to actually get people that excited to give you that much money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of people that, with a lot of different investments involving large sums of money where the company isn't public about what they're doing, so many people are like, what? That's ridiculous. They haven't shown anything. But, behind the scenes, they've shown somebody something that was impressive enough to hand over $500 million. So in the end, I hope that what they do have is, if they solved computer vision and made it great, and everybody else can benefit from that, that's wonderful. Because like I said, there are so many companies, augmented reality, also some stuff happening in virtual reality, that would benefit so greatly from having computer vision just be great, 100%. So we're kind of waiting on that for the AR stuff.
Let me just add a little context here about Magic Leap. We reported on that prior. It has the co-founder of the Weta Workshop, the special effects company behind The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings films, Sir Richard Taylor, on board. And Neil Stevenson, the author of Snow Crash, among many other influential books, has joined the advisory board. And they announced that in June or July in the UK, they will appear at a film festival, and I believe it's in Birmingham. I have to verify this. where they are going to produce a show where you, as an audience member, you can go in and experience the birth of the universe. And that is rumored to be the first public display of this technology, technology that basically puts non-existing objects into real reality.
I think it's a really interesting time for augmented reality because virtual reality is getting very good. So within virtual reality, you can simulate an augmented reality display, and therefore you can experiment with interfaces that would be good for augmented reality. So even though the technology for AR may not be totally there yet to make it a seamless, awesome experience, you could start playing, you could simulate a seamless, awesome experience in virtual reality and start playing with what should the interface look like, how can we interact with it, all that stuff. So I find that to be really cool, and I'm hoping that we will see somebody take advantage of that soon, because once the AR tech is there, if you've already got the interface solved, why not do it now if you can?
Quick correction, the Magic Leap appearance at the UK Film Festival was actually at the Manchester International Film Festival in July 2015, and the show they're putting on is called The Age of Starlight, billed to be a transformative film using the Magic Leap technology. Ben, we're far away from the from consumer ready stuff, but we're talking a lot of conceptual stuff, which is cool. Let me ask you, what was and I know people want to know about the big 3D head that you put on. That's probably the most important thing that we're gonna save for last. But first, what was the lamest piece of gear that you thought, oh my God, they're still selling this? Isn't this totally outdated in the era of VR?
So a company called Vuzix, who makes a bunch of smart glasses and some augmented reality stuff, they had this gaming headset, which they introduced to us as their Oculus Rift knockoff. That was actually what they told us it was.
I remember those guys, right?
And so they took us over, and it wasn't actually really virtual reality at all. There was no head tracking. It was basically just like a Sony HMZ headset, a personal media player, basically.
Yeah, I know that my dentist has one of those headsets where you can watch movies while he drills in your mouth.
Yeah.
All right. Again, I apologize profusely about the audio problems. Dear listeners, thanks for sticking with us, because now is the big payoff, because Ben will tell us his personal experience with the incredible 3D head, the Oculus Killer, the alien among aliens, the device that will finally bring VR into every basement.
Yeah, so 3D head was interesting. It is this massive, just ridiculously large helmet that you put on your head, and inside it has a projector.
It really looks like Alien from the movie.
Yeah, so the reason that it's so long in the front like that is because they're just basically hanging a surface out there, 10 inches in front of your face to project an image onto from an actual projector that's above your head. So it just seems like the most roundabout, ridiculous way to approach this problem. Like, let's put a projector on your head and basically hang a movie screen in front of your face to project onto. It just seems ridiculous, and it is. But the reason why it garnered all this attention was because they came out with a very aggressive marketing strategy, which was to position this thing as the Oculus Killer. When you really looked at it, not only was it not the Oculus Killer, they're not even in the same category when you really look at it. And I talked with their COO on camera, who told me, he said basically, no, it's not like the Oculus Rift, which was just completely not their message from a marketing standpoint, where they had their booth was plastered with Oculus Killer. It had these comparison lists where, the Oculus, of course, had nothing good, and this thing had everything great.
Yeah, the Oculus doesn't have a projector on your head. That's for sure.
Exactly. So basically, by their definition of Oculus Killer, anything is an Oculus Killer, because anything that is not the Oculus is an Oculus Killer. But anyway, so the community had kind of fun with this. It just turned into such a joke, because these guys were were being dishonest in their positioning of the product. And so yeah, it's not really a VR headset, super heavy, not really anything that I could see anyone wanting to use.
Let's summarize here. Why is it not the Oculus killer? What features does it not have that the Oculus has?
Well, so the projector version is not 3D. They didn't show me the other version, which, by the way, instead of projecting onto that screen hanging in front of you, they just basically Velcro a 3D tablet onto that screen in front of you. So you're essentially hanging a tablet in front of your head. Yes. Yes, it is laughable. If you're trying to move quickly to a particular target, you have to stop and let all that momentum of the headset overshoot you a little bit before coming back. So anyway, it just isn't really VR. They tried to say it was the killer of the best VR headset out there at the moment, and it just wasn't. So everybody kind of joked about it and gave them much deserved kind of criticism. They really asked for it.
That is really kind of bold that they would go out there like that. I mean, it's that kind of fine line between delusional and you got to admire that they're that bold, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, to an extent, it's like you guys actually made and manufactured this thing. How were you able to do that without understanding how ridiculous it is?
I think I saw a clip on YouTube where it comes with a controller in your hand.
It is this totally weird thing where they're on the side trying to sell this thing, which is probably closer to an actual product. This controller that you stick a tablet onto, and you can use it to film. You can use it to do virtual camera filming, essentially, which is something that happens in the movie industry now, where you are filming a CGI scene, but you're holding a tracked fake camera to move around like a real, to make it feel like you're filming as a real camera would, as opposed to animating that camera, which is feels less real. I didn't actually get to try that functionality, and the controller itself, they tried to say would be useful for playing games when it was like the least ergonomic controller I've ever held in my entire life. Like if you wanted your thumbs on the sticks, you basically couldn't press any of the buttons, so you'd have to move your thumbs off the sticks to reach any of the buttons. It's just a mess.
Well, maybe they came from the past. Maybe they had a time machine and did come from the early 80s.
It is 2015. That is the year Marty McFly arrived.
That is true.
I know. True. Marty McFly arrived and he had boots and he had hoverboards.
Yeah, and maybe he had the amazing virtual reality head that we just don't understand because we're not ready for it yet.
No, we're not ready for it. Guys, we're nearing the end of the show. We gotta wrap it up. It's really awesome to have you, Ben, and to have sort of your insightful, very kind of precise,
knowledgeable. That was the word you were looking for.
I was looking for the word knowledgeable, but since I'm not knowledgeable myself, that word escapes me, and I had to look it up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're at the end of the show. What I will be doing this weekend, before I ask you guys, I will, of course, watch the Second Life World of Warcraft documentary, Log Into Life, that I worked on in 2011. It streams all week on the web because they're rebroadcasting it on German and Austrian television. Some parts are not dubbed, but most of it is in English. And it's really worthwhile watching it. I'm personally very proud of it. My involvement with it, I did the music and the machinima. There's an in-depth look at the gold farmer phenomenon that is happening in China in World of Warcraft. It's really fascinating sort of subplot of the story. It's kind of 50-50 World of Warcraft and Second Life. Super interesting profiles of people whose life gets really transformed by engagement in World of Warcraft and Second Life. So that's happening. The link to the stream is on the website. What are you working on, Jo? Anything interesting other than drinking absinthe at the bar?
We've got an amazing machinima maker who's making a movie in Berlin as we speak. So I'm keeping an eye on that.
What's the name of that person?
Mr. Ole Etzel.
Ole Etzel has moved to Berlin. It is amazing, and Ole is one of the top machinima makers. He has his own distinctive style, and he has put out a great machinima over Christmas, which is really awesome. And he's doing a follow-up.
Yeah, it seems that Ole has fallen head over heels in love with the 1920s Berlin community, and he's making more movies. It's going to be a whole series, I think. He's absolutely moved in, and he's got his own little apartment, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Ben, what are you up to in the VR world?
Well, save for swinging into Second Life for some virtual drugs, which ought to be great.
Yeah, that's the only reason why we go in there. Go ahead.
Well, so we filled our schedule to the brim with meeting and gathering at CES, and we put out as much as we could, but there is still more, just tons of exciting stuff that we still have to write about, and we'll be putting out over the next week or two.
Thanks for being on the show, Ben, and have a great weekend. Joe, goodbye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
The audio problems, we will have them fixed next week.
It's all right, we worked through it.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Jo Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Leap Motion, SL Go by On Live, Stitcher, Ison, Bot Girls Identity Circus, Caravel Design, Vika Creations, Humanoid Animations, Loki Elliott, Botanical, Death Row Designs, Angel Red Couture, Fallen Gods Incorporated, Blue Moon Enterprises, What's Next, Avacon, and Landscapes Unlimited. Contact the show via Skype, Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.